All right, happy 2023. Can't believe it's 2023. Welcome, welcome. So I thought today, I have a meeting that kind of got canceled, so I have a few extra time. Thought today I'd talk a little bit about TechnoTutor. And you guys, if you've seen some of my videos, you know I've mentioned it in the past. And if you haven't, I would definitely recommend going back and seeing my 1 year update. So that was a big key one, my 1 year update. This is going to be the 2 year update. A little bit of what's happened, new things I've learned along the way, some of the benefits, my results, as well as like common things I think everybody has questions about. What the hell is it, for example? And so today we're going to talk a little bit about what is TechnoTutor, what does it do, my results over the last 2 years, and what are some realistic expectations. So I want to kind of dive into it a little bit. This is a good update video on everything. And I'm always usually drinking something, so I got chaga tea kind of going on. My sister-in-law got me this for Christmas. Major shout out to her. It's very adorable. She gave everybody in the family one. It's very cute, and a lot of things to process. So I want to really make this video because I do believe it's an incredible tool that can really benefit anybody to kind of help you get to the next level of where you want to be. And this is one of the probably like three things that I really recommend that have really transformed my life. TechnoTutor honestly is kind of one of them. There's some other things too, and if you ever want ideas of some of the things I've used or other tools, other sources of information, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share. I really am. Really happy to share on what's working, and I'm always trying to do self development in a lot of different ways, both for relationships, wealth, income increasing activities, as well as health in general. So let's just dive right into it. What is TechnoTutor? So TechnoTutor really is it's an educational tool. It's a vocabulary building software that what it does is it increases your brain's processing ability. Okay, and it does this through really your vocabulary. There's other things it can include, like mathematics and so forth, but it focuses primarily on vocabulary. If you consider your brain like a computer, which weirdly it is, you have information, you have neuroplasticity, you have neurotransmitters that firing off the electricity between your brains to access different parts of your brain. You're both your logical side, your creative side. It really is like a computer in a lot of ways on how you retain information and how you form solutions, how you brainstorm, for example. And so what TechnoTutor does, it's almost like your brain getting an update, getting a major refresh. It's getting the most updated data package, and it's cleaning out all the malware or everything. If you buy a computer, 2 years later, you'll notice that it's a little slower than you remember. There might be more pop-ups going on. The battery doesn't last as long. There's always something. And TechnoTutor really gives you an upgrade on your brain's processing ability. This is incredibly useful for knowledge. It's really helped me in the business world, for example, and in the sales world in general, where when we do brainstorming sessions, I'm always like the first guy that has all these different ideas, or I'm able to interpret information a little bit easier. I'm not saying I'm, amazing, but I'm definitely better than what I was 2 years ago. So take into consideration like that. Again, a little bit more about TechnoTutor. What it really does is it gives you direct access memory. It rebuilds and cleans your programming, giving an emphasis on vocabulary. And it uses vocabulary because vocabulary are really the building blocks of how you process information in words. If you read something from a book, you're stringing along all the words together into a sentence, and you're interpreting that information, and your brain is creating the visuals and all the other things to kind of like make its own understanding of what you're reading and interpreting. Same thing with communication with someone. You're hearing their words, and your brain's basically formulating what they mean. Same thing when you're trying to communicate to somebody else. You're putting it into words. Now, there's body language, I know that, but mostly it's through words and vocabulary. So they're the building blocks, and you're cleaning up each one of those words and information bits. In education in modern times, there's kind of three stages of development. First stage is ages 1 through 7. This is really the primary stage where, when you're a kid, you learn so much. And actually, we've learned that ages 1 through 7, kids are what's called an alpha state. It means their left side and their right side are pretty equal, and they're able to interpret information much more powerfully. If you guys have seen some of my other videos on like memory stuff, this is key, but this is a reason why kids are able to pick up languages a lot easier, where they just input all this information, all the things from their parents or educators or environment really gets locked in. And also programs as well. A lot of good habits and bad habits can come in through this age. The second stage is ages 8 through 25, which is weird how that's actually like grade 1 through postgraduate almost for a lot of people. But that's the next stage of development. After that, it's ages 25 and older, which I fall into. And what this actually does with TechnoTutor, an interesting thing is it reverts you back into that prime time of ages 1 through 7. Not like your cognitive ability, but your ability to process and internalize information at a faster rate. It helps you get into that alpha state faster, and you're able to interpret these things. So we also learn that with information, you have parts of your brain, your conscious, your subconscious, and your unconscious, okay? When you're putting information in, it's 5% of it's really going into your conscious brain. The rest is your subconscious and your unconscious, which is why sometimes your thoughts, they can seem like a runaway freight train, or your actions. It's because your subconscious is really kind of coming to light. And, if you're doing affirmations, for example, and you're saying them out loud and you're doing them, and, usually they say it takes 30 days to develop a new habit. That's because you're constantly hitting the conscious level. And over time, you're trying to drive it in so it gets deeper and deeper into your subconscious, right? That's the idea. With TechnoTutor, you actually go from 5% from your conscious to your unconscious in rapid time. So this is a major advantage when learning new information or trying to get over hurdles or new habits, something that kind of bypass those things. It is a bit of a shortcut. So, when you're learning something, this allows you to easily retain it much, much faster. I use it all the time in a lot of different settings. We've had some people who they were French speakers and they learned English through this in like 4 months. If you're learning any type of information, like from a master's program, from a coding boot camp, from sales, this is a really great way to upgrade your retention. Not to get too sidetracked, but I'm learning right now on kind of software development lifecycle for a company I'm doing a project with. I got to learn all this stuff. They were giving me a presentation this morning, and I took notes, and I'm going to put all those notes into I say TT for short, TechnoTutor, so that I can retain the information so that the next lesson, I'm already going to be ready to go. And it saves me time from constantly reviewing my notes all the time. So I only have to do it once, and it's like right there. So there's a great quote: knowledge is power only if it's remembered and used. There's two sides of it. Knowledge is power. It is. But you got to remember it. If you can't remember it, then what's the point? It has to be remembered and it has to be used. With TechnoTutor, I do believe that you can remember things easier. You can. There's a lot of cool techniques that I know, and I'm sure I don't know it all, but like that you can use to maximize your memory. TechnoTutor is one of them. You'll remember the knowledge more. It'll be in your unconscious, subconscious mind, so it's at your mental fingertips. And then, but the other factor is you should be using it. So if you're like, I use sales a lot because I'm in that kind of world, but if you're learning new sales techniques, number one, you got to remember it. Number two, you should be using it on a daily basis, so you know what's like trial and error, what's working, what's not working. So you have to be using it. That's how it becomes power for you. Okay? So that was kind of like part one. What is TechnoTutor? A little bit about that. Hope that helps. Hope that answers any questions. If you have more questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to answer anything. Now we're going to talk about results. So if you haven't yet, after this video, I definitely recommend checking out my 1 year update. I really go into details on kind of like some breakdowns. to give you guys the short version, over 2 years ago, I got pitched TechnoTutor from a friend of mine. And, my first reaction was the same way, like, all right, what's this? How much is it? All these things, like, first, the signs of kind of like, you put on a little bit of a defense when you get pitched something. And so I definitely felt the same way. And I didn't really know what I had in my hand. I'd never heard of it. It didn't really make sense. But I knew the guy, and I trusted him. And this was also during like the beginning of lockdown. So it was like, I have some free time on my hands, might as well do it. And ideally, we met up yeah, actually, he was the guy in person, the last person I saw before the lockdowns. I remember we met up at the bar near my home area in San Diego, and he was walking me through it. And the directions were you have to do it 30 minutes a day. So I decided to like, hey, I'm going to take a chance. He was making great income. And if it could do what it did for him, I want to give it a shot. I want to see if it works for me. So I decided to do, you're supposed to do it 30 minutes a day, just a heads up. I decided to like, I'm overachiever maybe sometimes. So I do an hour a day. And I did an hour a day to try to maximize results. And then you can focus on certain subjects, or you can just do kind of knowledge in general. I decided to do subject specific first. And at the time, I really wanted a quality relationship. I had like, flings and other things and relationships that didn't last too long. And they were all fun, but I wanted something really substantial. I wanted really something that was going to be long-term ideal partner. And so I focused on for an hour a day, just on relationships, just on that subject. And I would put all this programming in, clearing up information in my head, into my subconscious. And unfortunately, I had the instant gratification syndrome. I was like, I want results right now. And because we live in an environment where we can get information so fast and results so fast, I kind of fell into that trap. And after a month, it was like, I didn't quit. I didn't like quit it. I just basically stopped using it. I was like, whatever. I got frustrated. 3 months later, after that, I ended up meeting this girl that had everything on my list that I wanted. And we started dating. And I was like, was it from this? Was it just natural? Was it just a serendipitous situation that just happened? Could it have been from that? But that was pretty fast. Okay. By the way, major update. That girl is now my fiance 2 years later. So, yeah, we got engaged like a few months ago. And really fun. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. So at first I was like, was it this? Was it not? Let me go back to TechnoTutor and try it again. Then I focused on subject-specific money. Started focusing on money. Did all these, the program to deprogram all these things on money. You have limiting beliefs on money, as well as vocabulary, all these things. And I follow this step by step. 3 months later, almost the exact same duration of time, 3 months later, I doubled my income. I got promoted in my company. I got promoted again in a really short amount of time, and I doubled my income. So then it got me really like, what the hell? You kind of like are like, is it this? I think it is. It's like, it's the only thing I had changed at the time. It's the only thing. And so it was really making me like, let me keep pursuing this and seeing what's here. So I've been, pretty consistent, trying to do 30 minutes a day. Now, let's skip forward. A year later, I had gotten another new position. I've been offered a new position. And that's a long story, but I got a new position. I was leading a team of 8 people, was more focused, was getting more stuff done in less time. And then obviously the relationship and income was pretty nice. Now, that was at the 1 year update. 2 year update. Okay, here's the big one, the reason for this video. So 2 years later, what's actually happened? Well, now my girlfriend is now my fiance. We're scheduled to get married later this year. We already got the honeymoon all booked up. It's gonna be pretty fun. And I definitely feel extremely lucky. Like, man, I can't believe how lucky I am to have a relationship like this. It's constantly grown too. And that's the thing. It's you're constantly learning about yourself and the other person. And the other update is I have a new house. Oh, I forgot, and a new car. And I got a new car. I was driving this old 2008 Suzuki. I loved that car, but it was on its last legs. It really was. And we ended up coming up to Oregon for a few different weddings. Fell in love with this one area. I'm not gonna say what, but we decided to move up here. So we moved out of San Diego. We moved in together and away, kind of like, double whammy. We now have this, it's not, I don't own the house, but I have a rental house. It's right on the river. It's 2 stories, front yard, backyard. We got a fire pit in the back. We got cool man cave downstairs. It's really cool. Fireplace. It's a really cool setup. And I also have a new car, Jeep Cherokee. All these things like I never thought in a year would have happened. Like fast paced, really fast paced. And we've met this new community here in our area, and it's become its own mastermind. It's all health oriented people. They're all successful in some degree, really friendly, happy, health oriented, family oriented, just good solid people that you would love to surround yourself with. And I can't believe that they've kind of come into my life that way. Also, just in career wise, I started a new job at the beginning of the year to lead the team of 8, and now I'm doing multiple projects that are pretty exciting. I don't want to divulge too much, but some pretty exciting that I think over the next 2 to 5 years could be some pretty, can set up for long-term success. So I'm pretty excited. So those are some things, and also just fun life events. I did a half Ironman in Lake Tahoe. I did snowboarding in Bachelor. I did wine tasting in Mexico, whitewater kayaking in Oregon, did some weekend excursions in Chicago and Denver and Bozeman. And I'm not trying to sound this to brag. I'm just saying that the quality of life has gone up that much more from a lot of these things. And if I look at kind of like really what's one of them, and I say one of the the biggest thing I changed was TechnoTutor. Now, over this last year, I definitely changed a few other elements because I wanted to experiment, but I stayed consistent with TechnoTutor, and I've seen a lot of results from that. Now, I'll talk about the other tools, but those are some of the updates. So in terms of like health, gone way up. Relationship, gone way up. Income and career stuff, yep. I'm not going to say how much, but yeah, it's definitely gone way up. So there's a lot of elements that I've seen from this results. So these are just my experiences. Somebody might have different ones, but those are my experiences. What is the reality of TechnoTutor? And I think this gets lost in translation. And I want to be very, very honest about this stuff. So I've seen a few reviews online. And a lot of people, one was they didn't get any results in 1 month, which is funny because I felt the exact same way. A lot of people are looking for the instant gratification. They think they get this software, this tool, and it's just like, my life's going to change in 1 year. I'm giving you a 2-year update. It took 2 years. It's probably going to take longer to get all these other benefits, but ideally you have to give yourself a minimum of 6 months. I would say a minimum of 6 months to really clear up a few of the things or get the results that you're looking for, at least starting to see results. 30 minutes a day over 6 months. I would commit to that. If you're going to do this, commit to that first before you start am I doing it right? That's a big thing. So a lot of people will do it for a month and then just feel that I'm not getting results. And I've been there, and then they might quit before you actually see the right ones. So you have to be consistent. For me, it took 3 months, but I would give yourself about 6 months of runway timeline that before you start seeing big things, okay? I think it also really matters on who you purchase from. Unfortunately, in a lot of organizations, everywhere on the planet, the salesperson might have the right intentions, but then they might, after the sale, they did their job. They sold you the thing, and then they kind of leave after the purchase. And you want to make sure the person who is kind of distributing it to you We'll provide you with the proper steps, right? We'll show you the right know-how, and we'll get you to the position that you want to be. Ideally, it's somebody who's kind of already kind of using the product and knows how to do it and kind of how to get there. I'm not the only one, but I do want to say that if you, by the way, I should say this at this point. I was not a distributor when I started this out. I was a customer only. I gave it a whole year, and I really saw the improvements, and I did decide to become a distributor. So I am distributing it now, but I was a customer first and saw the results first. And that's why I was like, hey, you know what? I think this can actually benefit a lot of people, and especially kids, and especially the next. And there's things in society that are kind of going that I want to build a better future for my family, myself, and just society in general. So the things that I do, this is one of them. This is one tool that I recommend. I think it will add benefit to everybody's life. And if you decide to go down this road, it doesn't have to be through me, but if you decide to, I'm going to help you out. I'll make sure that you're set up. I'll show you exactly what I did to reach the same results. And I'll be kind of a coach in a lot of ways, and I'll keep you accountable too. There's a few people who, close friends, as well as people who I didn't know, and they saw the first video and they wanted to kind of like go down this road, and I'm trying to help them all the time. Initially, obviously, that's the most information, and then we're consistent every single month, okay? Because if I can help you, I think it's a ripple effect. If I can help another person, that person's going to help other people. And even if it's not through this tool, as long as it's just kind of like bettering themselves in some way, I think that's important. So some key things there. Other people's successes, I've heard a mixture of different things. There's one girl I know, she learned English in like 4 months. There's one guy who went from, he was making like $3,000 a month to then all of a sudden making $10,000 a month. Those results aren't typical, by the way, but it happened to him. It can happen to you. So, and now, by the way, he's a millionaire. There's students, kids who went from unable to read to amazing literacy rates. Were D and F students to now being A's and B's. There's multiple ones of salespeople who became top sellers in their organizations. And generally, like overall, I think anybody will have a better life from using this than without it. That's just my opinion. And it's interesting to see the results in ways, shapes, and forms on how they present themselves. Generally, the overall result is people have a better time processing information, better focus, better memory, recallability, less brain fog, and you're a little bit more centered. You're able to take on life a little easier. You're able to have a little bit more self-awareness. So, I wish I had this tool 10 years ago, which is when I think it came out. I'm just glad, I'm glad it entered my life now. I'm not saying I wasn't skeptical. I was skeptical. But after 2 years, I can solidly say that I've seen profound things. Now, the other things I recommend that I think it can help, definitely message me if you want some of this information of other tools I use. I'm a big believer in masterminds. Being in a environment of like-minded, positive people will have profound effects on your energy, as well as just the other information, and just will accelerate your life in a lot of ways. I'm also into biohacking, and if you're not familiar with that, there's a whole community online that talks about just health benefits. It's mostly like eating organic, cleanses, things like that. Do that. And if you want some more information on that, feel free to message me. It's really just areas that I've seen effects in. Now, if you would like to get TechnoTutor, right, you can only get them through direct distributors, okay? So if you want some more information, or you like to chat with me a little bit about it, I'll put a Calendly link in the bottom. Feel free to message me. We can set up a time to talk. Usually I set up a time for 15, 20 minutes. I can answer any questions, tell you a little bit more about it. Or if it's something that, something else on your mind, you want to talk about a situation you're having, other tools I'm using, I'm happy to help and offer anything. It's a free consultation. And then, I think that could be very, very helpful. There's other things that I recommend because I think there's other variables in success, but this is like out of the tools I've used, this is one of the top three. It's a huge key one that I think has really made an impact in my life, and I can guarantee you my kids are going to use it. They're definitely going to use it, and it's really important. I think it's going to create the foundation for the future. Helping yourself, it's going to help your family, it's going to have a ripple effect on a lot of different things. So really hope it brings, what you want. And yeah, it's gonna be 2023, so I'm excited. It's gonna be a great year. I'm really stoked for on just what's I have planned and what people have gotten planned, and a lot of my friends and family, and also I'm getting married. So cheers, guys. Happy 2023. Feel free to reach out anytime you need. Happy to help. Love you guys. Cheers.